Richard Caldwell sat at his desk late one night, staring at the data streaming across his monitor. The strange signals from deep space had appeared 3 nights ago, and he hadn't slept much since. These weren't random cosmic noise. They showed clear patterns. "Dr. Caldwell," a voice called from the doorway. Olivia Shaw stood there, holding 2 cups of coffee. "I thought you could use this." "Thanks, Olivia." He took the cup gratefully. "Look at this sequence. It repeats every 47 seconds. Olivia set her coffee down and leaned over his shoulder. "That's not natural." "Exactly." Richard highlighted a section of the data. "Whatever this is, it's artificial. Someone or something is sending these signals." The discovery spread through NASA like wildfire. Within days, the signals were being analyzed by teams around the world. President Morris called an emergency meeting with his top scientists and military advisors. "So what exactly are we looking at?" the president asked, looking around the table. Richard cleared his throat. "Sir, we believe we've detected communications from an advanced civilization. The signals originate from a star system about 40 light-years away." The room fell silent. "Have you decoded anything?" asked Defense Secretary Harris. Olivia stepped forward. "Yes, sir. With help from our quantum computers, we've managed to understand portions of the message. It appears to be an invitation." 6 months later, humanity made its first official contact. The alien delegation arrived in a ship that defied physics as humans understood it. They called themselves representatives of the Galactic Council, a federation of 27 different species spread across the Milky Way. The lead diplomat, a tall being with silvery skin named Kelviron, addressed the United Nations General Assembly. "Humans of Earth," Kelviron said, his words translated through a device on his chest. "We have watched your species grow for centuries. You have developed quickly, more quickly than most. The Council observes all emerging intelligent life in this sector of the galaxy." Murmurs spread through the assembly. "Your technology has reached the point where you can detect our presence. This is the threshold at which we traditionally introduce ourselves." Richard and Olivia sat in the front row, barely able to contain their excitement. They had been chosen as part of the scientific team to interact with the visitors. "We represent 27 civilizations, some over 50,000 of your years old," Kelviron continued. "Each began as you did, alone on their home planets, believing they were the only intelligent life in the universe." Later that day, Richard and Olivia joined a smaller meeting with the alien representatives. The conference room felt too ordinary for such an extraordinary event. "Your species shows remarkable adaptation skills," said Mirasol, a reptilian scientist from the Council. "You've survived multiple extinction events and continue to thrive." "We're curious by nature," Richard replied. "Adaptation is what we do best." "Indeed." Kelviron's eyes, 3 of them, arranged in a triangle, blinked slowly. "The Council has been monitoring Earth since your ancient civilizations first appeared. We've watched your wars, your technological progress, your art." Olivia leaned forward. "Why contact us now?" "Because you were about to discover us anyway," Mirasol said. "Your quantum communication experiments last year nearly intercepted our network." The meeting continued for hours as humans learned their place in the galactic community. They were young, extremely young compared to most Council species. The oldest civilization had achieved space travel when humans were still using stone tools. As the sun set outside, Richard looked at his notes. The Council had invited Earth to begin the process of joining their federation. The application process would take years, but it would open humanity to technologies beyond imagination. "This changes everything," Olivia whispered as they left the building. "Everything we know about ourselves, about our place in the universe." Richard nodded, looking up at the stars appearing in the evening sky. "We're not alone anymore." Little did they know that humanity's greatest challenge was just beginning. The rejection came without warning. For 18 months, Earth had prepared its application to the Galactic Council. Teams of scientists, diplomats, and cultural experts worked day and night to present humanity in the best possible light. Commander Jack Daniels led the diplomatic mission aboard the Council transport vessel. As a former Navy SEAL turned diplomat, Jack had been chosen for his calm under pressure and strategic thinking. Beside him stood Dr. Peter Collins, Earth's leading xenobiologist, and Susan Miller, the UN's top negotiator. "This is just a formality," Susan had assured the team as they approached the massive Council station orbiting a distant star. "They invited us, after all." The Council chamber took their breath away. Representatives from 27 species sat in tiered rows around a central platform. Some floated in special tanks, others required different atmospheric conditions in sealed sections. "Representatives of Earth," announced the Council speaker, a tall being with 4 arms. "We have reviewed your application materials with great interest." Jack stood proudly at the podium, aware that billions back home watched this historic moment via the communication relay. After careful consideration, the speaker continued, "The Council has voted to deny Earth's application for membership at this time." A stunned silence fell over the human delegation. "I'm sorry," Jack finally said, "but there must be some mistake." The speaker's expression remained unreadable. "There is no mistake." The vote was decisive. 17 species voted against Earth's admission. Susan stepped forward. "On what grounds?" "We've met all the technological requirements. Our cultural submissions were comprehensive." A different council member rose, a being with brilliant blue skin and eyes that seemed to look in different directions. "Humans represent an unacceptable risk factor. Your species shows alarming tendencies toward aggression and unpredictable behavior." "We have wars in our history," Peter said, "but so does every species. We've made tremendous progress." "It is not merely your wars," said another council member, this one appearing almost insect-like. "It is your fundamental nature. Humans adapt too quickly, change too readily, and question too persistently." Jack felt his face grow hot. "Those are our strengths, not weaknesses." "To you, perhaps," the speaker replied. "To us, they represent instability. The Council requires predictable, manageable member species." The journey back to Earth was tense. Jack spent hours drafting his report, trying to soften the blow. When they landed, they found the news had already spread. Protests erupted outside Council observation posts. Global unity, rare in human history, formed around a shared sense of indignation. President Morris called an emergency session of the UN General Assembly. "Today we learned something important about the galaxy we inhabit," she said, her voice steady despite her anger. "The Council fears what they cannot control. They reject what they cannot predict." In living rooms and public squares across Earth, people watched as their leaders voiced a unified response. "If the Council will not have us as equals," the Chinese premier declared, "then perhaps we are better off charting our own path." The Russian president nodded in agreement. "Humanity has always thrived when challenged. This may be our greatest challenge yet." Council observers reported the global reaction with concern. Their reports noted how quickly humans rallied, how efficiently they organized their response. In a private meeting with his advisors, President Morris reviewed the classified intelligence on Council technology and territories. "They've been holding back," General Rodriguez explained. "The tech they showed us is centuries behind what our spies have observed. They never intended to accept us as equals," Jack said, still bitter from the rejection. "They wanted obedient junior partners, not innovative peers." Morris leaned back in her chair. "Then it's time for Plan B. Contact Dr. Pierce at NASA and Dr. Wright at MIT. Tell them Project Exodus just got the green light." As night fell across Earth, billions of humans looked up at the stars with new determination. The Council had made a critical mistake. They had underestimated humanity's response to rejection. They had created a unified Earth with a single purpose. Project Exodus began in secret. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, engineers and scientists gathered in a facility shielded from Council sensors. President Morris had authorized unlimited funding and resources, declaring it humanity's top priority. Nathan Pierce stared at the holographic display, manipulating the design of an engine unlike any built before. At 42, he had been NASA's most brilliant propulsion engineer, but what he designed now went far beyond conventional technology. "The antimatter containment field is still fluctuating," he muttered to himself. "Try adjusting the quantum buffer," suggested Dr. Samantha Wright from across the lab. She had abandoned her work on extending human lifespan to focus on suspended animation systems for long-duration space travel. Nathan made the adjustment, and the simulation stabilized. "That did it. We're looking at speeds that would let us reach Alpha Centauri in months instead of decades." "We'll need it," Samantha replied. "The latest intelligence suggests the Council is growing suspicious of our reduced communications." The project expanded rapidly. Underground shipyards were constructed in remote locations around the globe. Former enemies pooled their resources and knowledge. Russian titanium, American computer systems, Chinese manufacturing efficiency, and European precision engineering all came together in service of a single goal: independence from the Galactic Council. 6 months into the project, General Frank Cooper called an emergency meeting. "We have a problem," he announced to the project leaders gathered around the table. "Our surveillance satellites have detected Council probe ships entering the solar system. They're looking for something." "Have they found anything?" asked Nathan. "Not yet, but it's only a matter of time before they detect the heat signatures from our shipyards." President Morris joined the meeting via secure video link. "How close are we to having a functional prototype?" "The first ship could be ready for testing in 3 weeks," Nathan replied. "But we'd need months to build a fleet large enough for meaningful exodus." "Then we need a distraction," the president decided. "Something to focus their attention elsewhere while we complete the project." The distraction came in the form of highly publicized, conventional space missions. Earth launched old technology ships toward Mars and Venus, making sure the Council could easily track them. Meanwhile, in the Atacama Desert, workers completed the largest underground shipyard. 5 massive colony ships took shape, each designed to carry 100,000 people to distant stars. Samantha's team perfected the suspended animation chambers that would allow colonists to survive the journey. "We can keep them stable for up to 15 years, she explained to Nathan during a rare break. "That should be enough to reach any system within 500 light years. If my engines work as designed, they won't need nearly that long," Nathan replied with a tired smile. The Council's suspicions grew despite Earth's misdirection. A spy drone managed to capture images of one shipyard before being destroyed by Earth's defenses. In the Council chamber, the images caused an uproar. "They're building ships," exclaimed the delegate from Proxima Centauri, "far more advanced than they should be capable of." "How is this possible?" demanded another representative. "Their technology was barely interplanetary when we rejected them." The speaker called for calm. "We underestimated their response to rejection. These ships appear designed for long-distance travel, possibly colony ships." "They wouldn't dare leave Council space," said the Rejection ambassador. "No species has ever developed independently once contacted." Back on Earth, the first ship was ready for testing. Named Hope, it represented humanity's future. Nathan and Samantha watched from the control room as the massive vessel rose silently from its underground hangar, cloaking technology hiding it from both conventional radar and Council sensors. "Test firing main drive in 3, 2, 1, announced the flight controller. The ship disappeared in a flash of light, reappearing seconds later hundreds of thousands of miles away. Nathan's hands trembled as he checked the data. "It worked," he whispered. "It actually worked." President Morris addressed the project team that evening. "Today marks the beginning of humanity's new chapter. Our ancestors looked to the stars and dreamed. We will be the ones who reach them, not as Council subordinates, but as free people charting our own destiny." The Council finally acted 6 months after detecting human shipbuilding activities. Their massive diplomatic vessel entered Earth orbit without permission, broadcasting on all frequencies. Secretary General William Hayes stood at his office window, watching the alien ship hovering over New York. Military officers filled the room behind him, including Colonel Linda Martinez, who had been tasked with coordinating Earth's defense systems. "They're requesting an immediate audience, sir," Linda reported, checking her tablet. "Their chief diplomat is already on the way down." "Let them come," Hayes replied. It's time they understood who they're dealing with. The council diplomat, Zilfar, arrived flanked by guards. His crystalline skin reflected the fluorescent lights as he entered the United Nations building. Security personnel escorted him to the Secretary General's office. "You have violated multiple council directives," Zilfar began without preamble. "Your unauthorized shipbuilding activities must cease immediately." Hayes remained seated, a deliberate show of disrespect. "We are not council members, Ambassador. Your directives don't apply to us. All species in this sector fall under council jurisdiction," Zilfar stated. "Your rejection as members does not exempt you from our authority." Linda stepped forward. "We never agreed to that arrangement." Zilfar's eyes narrowed. "The ships you are building use technology beyond your development level. You have stolen council secrets." "We've stolen nothing," Hayes said firmly. "Humans have simply done what we've always done: adapt, innovate, and overcome." The meeting was broadcast globally. Billions watched as humanity's representatives stood their ground against the Council's threats. "This is your final warning," Zilfar said. "Cease all shipbuilding immediately and surrender your prototypes or face consequences." Hayes stood slowly. "Ambassador, let me be clear. Humanity will chart its own course among the stars. We will build our ships. We will leave this solar system. And there is nothing your council can do to stop us." After Zilfar departed, President Morris called an emergency meeting with global leaders. "The council will respond with force," she warned. "Our intelligence suggests they're moving military vessels to our system." Colonel Martinez displayed the Defense Readiness Report. "We've accelerated the timeline. Defensive satellites are in position. The lunar base has been fortified with our new shield technology." "What about Project Exodus?" asked the European Chancellor. "The first 10 ships are ready," Hayes replied. "We can begin loading colonists next week." Unexpected help arrived 3 days later. A small ship entered Earth orbit, evading both Council and human detection systems until the last moment. It carried representatives from 3 Council species who disagreed with the majority's position on humanity. The alien delegation met with Hayes and Martinez in a secure underground facility. "Not all Council members see humans as a threat," explained Nari, a small furry being with large eyes. "Some of us recognize the potential benefits of alliance with your species. Why would you risk helping us?" Linda asked. "The Council has grown stagnant," replied Trell, a bird-like alien whose wings shimmered with iridescent colors. "Many of our cultures haven't produced true innovation in centuries. We believe humanity could revitalize our societies." They shared critical intelligence. The Council planned to blockade Earth within 2 weeks, cutting off all possible escape routes. "We need to accelerate the launch schedule," Hayes told his team after the meeting. "We cannot allow them to trap us here." Across the globe, people prepared. Families packed their limited belongings. Lottery systems determined who would leave on the first ships and who would follow later. Earth's best scientists, artists, doctors, and thinkers were distributed among the vessels to ensure no single ship carried all of humanity's knowledge. Council ships began arriving at the edge of the solar system, establishing positions to intercept Earth vessels. Their commanders transmitted ultimatums, which Earth ignored. Linda coordinated with defensive bases on Mars and the Moon. "If they attack, we need to buy the evacuation ships enough time to clear the solar system." President Morris addressed the world one final time before boarding her ship. "Throughout human history, we have faced those who sought to limit us, to control us, to tell us what we could not do. And throughout human history, we have proven them wrong. Today, we do so again, not just for ourselves, but for all the generations that will follow among the stars. The Council watched, increasingly alarmed, as humanity prepared for what no species had ever attempted, a mass departure from their homeworld, against explicit Council prohibition. The first colony ship, Endeavour, rose silently from its Antarctic launch bay under the command of Captain Catherine Stone. Her steady gaze remained fixed on the holographic display as the massive vessel cleared Earth's atmosphere. "Council vessels detected," reported her first officer, Daniel Green. "3 warships moving to intercept from the lunar orbit." Catherine nodded calmly. "Activate cloaking systems. All hands prepare for emergency acceleration." Around the globe, 11 other ships launched simultaneously. Each carried 50,000 colonists in suspended animation, plus 5,000 awake crew members. They represented humanity's best hope, seeds of civilization bound for distant stars. "This is Stone on Endeavour," Catherine broadcast to the other captains. "Stay on your assigned vectors until you clear the asteroid belt. Then scatter according to your destination protocols." Council ships scrambled to track the human vessels, their weapons powered up, energy signatures flaring against the darkness of space. "Captain, Council flagship is hailing us," Daniel reported. "Ignore it," Catherine ordered. "Prepare for phase shift on my mark." The Council commander's face appeared on screen anyway, overriding their communications system. "Human vessel, power down your engines immediately, or we will open fire." Catherine met his gaze without flinching. "We are a civilian ship on a peaceful journey. Any hostile action against us would violate the Council's own founding principles." The alien commander bared his teeth. "You have nowhere to go. The stars you seek are already claimed by Council species. There are more stars in this galaxy than your Council has members," Catherine replied before cutting the transmission. On Earth, Engineer Paul Wilson monitored the fleet's progress from mission control. He had stayed behind with the technical team, ready to support the fleeing ships. His greatest creation, the experimental warp drive, remained untested at full power. "Endeavour is being pursued by 3 Council warships," his assistant reported. "They won't make it to the jump point." Paul made his decision. "Transmit the warp protocols to Captain Stone. Authorization Wilson Alpha 79. Aboard Endeavour." Catherine received the transmission with wide eyes. "They want us to activate the warp drive. It's never been tested at full capacity." "Better than being captured," Daniel said quietly. Catherine addressed her crew. "All hands, secure for experimental drive activation. This will be rough." The Endeavour shuddered as its conventional engines cut out. For one terrifying moment, the ship drifted in space as the Council vessels closed in. "Warp systems online," reported the engineer. "Ready on your command." "Activate," Catherine ordered. Space itself seemed to bend around the massive ship. Stars stretched into lines, then vanished completely as Endeavour tore through the fabric of space-time. The Council vessels fired too late, their energy weapons passing through empty space. One by one, the other human ships activated their own warp drives, disappearing from Council sensors. The alien commanders could only watch helplessly as their quarry vanished. In the Council chamber, emergency sessions convened as reports arrived. "Impossible," shouted the Rejection delegate. "No species at their development stage should possess this technology." The speaker struggled to maintain order. "Our intelligence was clearly flawed. The humans have developed or stolen technology that puts them beyond our reach." Back on Earth, waves of ships continued to launch. Council blockades proved ineffective against humanity's new drives. Each vessel carried unique coordinates, scattering humans across thousands of potential worlds. Paul received confirmation as each ship successfully jumped to safety. "That's the first wave complete," he told President Morris, who had remained to oversee the evacuation. 12 ships, 660,000 people, safely beyond Council space. And the Council ships? Confused, disorganized. They never expected us to have working warp technology. Morris smiled grimly. Their greatest mistake was underestimating human ingenuity when backed into a corner. The exodus continued for months. Council efforts to stop the departures grew increasingly desperate. They attempted to jam communication systems, launched cyber attacks against Earth's infrastructure, and even fired warning shots at launch facilities. Nothing worked. Humanity slipped through their fingers like water. At the final Council emergency session, the speaker faced uncomfortable facts. We have failed to contain them. Human ships have now been detected in 17 different sectors, all beyond our effective control. What do we do? Asked a delegate. 5 years after the exodus began, the Galactic Council convened its most somber session in recent memory. Representatives from all 27 member species gathered to discuss what many now called the human problem. Our economy shows troubling signs of decline, reported Zarvek, the Council's chief economist. Trade routes that previously ran through human space now require significant detours. 17 key minerals formerly exported from Earth are no longer available to member worlds. The Proximan delegate rose to speak. This goes beyond economic concerns. Human colonies have been detected in sectors we considered uninhabitable. They adapt to conditions that would kill most species. How many colonies have we confirmed? Asked the speaker. 53, replied the intelligence director. But our estimates suggest the true number may be closer to 200. They're using technologies that shield them from our standard scanning methods. In a research facility orbiting a distant gas giant, Dr. Alan Garcia made the breakthrough that would change everything. He had been working on quantum communications since before the exodus, and now, surrounded by the brightest minds from Earth, he had finally succeeded. It works, he told his team, barely containing his excitement. The quantum entanglement remains stable across 12 light years. We can communicate instantly with any colony, regardless of distance. His assistant, Laura Bennett, stared at the data in amazement. The Council said this was theoretically impossible. The Council, Alan replied with a smile, has been wrong about many things. Within months, the quantum communication network linked all human colonies. Ships carried entangled particles to each settlement, creating an instantaneous web of information that spanned hundreds of light years, all completely invisible to Council monitoring. This network allowed humans to share innovations at unprecedented speed. A farming technique developed on one world could be implemented on another the same day. Medical breakthroughs spread instantly. Military coordination became seamless. Back in Council space, the economic impact grew more severe. Council species had become dependent on human innovation over the centuries of contact. Without it, their technological progress slowed dramatically. We face a serious innovation crisis, admitted the Rejection science minister during a closed session. Human researchers previously contributed to 60% of our new patents and scientific papers. That source of creativity is now gone. Perhaps we made a mistake, suggested a representative from one of the younger Council species. The humans offered partnership. We demanded submission. It is too late for such reflections. The speaker replied grimly. They are beyond our reach now. But not all Council members accepted this conclusion. Some began secret outreach to human colonies, offering technology and resources in exchange for human innovations. These unauthorized contacts violated Council law, but desperation overrode compliance. On the human colony world of New Eden, Governor Rebecca Clark received one such overture from a Council species. They're offering jump gate technology in exchange for our advancements in artificial intelligence, she told her advisory council. This is the third such offer this month. They're desperate, noted Defense Minister Henry Wells. Their economies are struggling without human participation. Should we accept? Asked another advisor. Rebecca considered carefully. Forward the offer to Central Coordination. Let's see what our other colonies think. The quantum network buzzed with debate. Some colonies favored isolation from the Council, while others saw strategic advantage in limited engagement. The discussion represented something the Council had never achieved: true democratic decision-making across light years of space. Meanwhile, Human innovation accelerated beyond anything seen on Earth. Free from council restrictions, scientists pursued technologies previously deemed too dangerous or disruptive. Energy sources became cleaner and more powerful. Medical advances extended lifespans. Ships grew faster and more efficient. Dr. Alan Garcia, now leading the largest research facility in human space, summarized the situation to a gathering of colony representatives. In trying to contain us, the Council created their worst nightmare. A humanity united by common purpose, spread across hundreds of worlds, and completely beyond their control. The Council could only watch helplessly as human civilization flourished in the spaces between their carefully managed territories. What they had feared most had come to pass. A species had escaped their influence and was thriving on its own terms. And it was just the beginning. 50 years had passed since the first human ships vanished into the depths of space. What began as desperate flight had transformed into one of the most remarkable diaspora in galactic history. Human colonies now numbered in the thousands, spread across 5 spiral arms of the Milky Way. On New Terra, the unofficial capital of human space, Ambassador Michelle Rivers prepared for a journey few humans had made in half a century. She would return to Council space. "Are you certain about this?" asked President Steve Lawson. At 76, he had been a child during the Exodus, with only faint memories of Earth. Michelle nodded. "It's time. Our scouts report the Council is struggling. Several member species face resource shortages. Some have experienced governmental collapse. The journey took 3 weeks aboard the diplomatic vessel Reconciliation. Unlike the desperate ships of the Exodus, this craft showcased humanity's technological advancement, elegant, powerful, and far beyond anything the Council possessed. The Council station looked smaller than Michelle expected. She had seen images from the archives, but those had shown a mighty seat of power. The structure before her seemed aged. Sections darkened to conserve energy. Council guards escorted her delegation to the chamber. Many representatives gasped at the sight of humans entering their sacred space. "Representatives of humanity," the speaker began, voice betraying uncertainty. "You honor us with your unexpected presence." Michelle stepped forward. "I bring greetings from the Human Alliance of Independent Worlds. We represent 4,317 colonies across this galaxy." The number sent whispers through the chamber. The Council's official count had been less than 1,000. "We have come to propose a new relationship between our peoples," Michelle continued. "Not as subordinates, not as members of your council, but as equals." The Rejection representative rose. "Equality? You abandoned council space, violated our directives, built unauthorized colonies in protected sectors." "Yes," Michelle replied simply. "And we have thrived. Our agricultural worlds produce enough food to feed 10 times our population. Our shipyards launch a new vessel every day. Our scientists make breakthroughs your researchers only dream about." She activated a holographic display showing human achievements, massive orbital habitats, terraformed worlds, ships that could cross the galaxy in weeks instead of years. 50 years ago, you rejected humanity because we were unpredictable, because we questioned, because we adapted too quickly. Those very traits have allowed us to solve problems your civilizations have struggled with for millennia. The chamber fell silent. "We offer trade. We offer cultural exchange. We offer medical and technological advances that could benefit all your peoples." Michelle paused. "But we will never accept domination or control." The debate lasted for days. Some council species remained hostile, clinging to outdated notions of superiority. Others saw opportunity in Michelle's offer. The council had stagnated without human innovation, and many worlds suffered for it. In the end, pragmatism prevailed. The council formally recognized the Human Alliance as an independent entity with sovereign rights to its colonial territories. A historic moment, the speaker announced. "For the first time in council history, we establish relations with an independent interstellar power." As Michelle prepared to depart, An elderly council member approached her privately. His species had been among those who voted against human membership 50 years before. "We were wrong," he admitted quietly. "In trying to contain you, we set you free. The galaxy is better for it." Back on New Terra, Michelle delivered the news to a waiting crowd. "The Council has recognized our independence and our right to exist beyond their authority. Today begins a new chapter in human history, one where we engage with the galaxy on our own terms." Across human space, celebrations erupted. What began as rejection had led to something greater than membership could ever have offered. Humanity had created its own path, its own alliance of worlds based on freedom rather than control. In schools across hundreds of colonies, children learned the story of the Exodus, how humanity had turned rejection into triumph, how determination had overcome limitation, how people united by common purpose had achieved the impossible. And in the council chamber, a new resolution quietly passed. Any emerging species detected in the future would be approached with respect and offered partnership rather than control. The lesson of humanity would not be forgotten. 100 years after humanity's recognition as an independent power, the galaxy had transformed in ways no council member could have predicted. The human alliance had grown from thousands of colonies to tens of thousands, creating a vast network of worlds connected by technologies that defied traditional physics. On the anniversary of the Exodus, Andrea Reynolds stood at the observation deck of Harmony Station, a massive structure orbiting the neutral space between Council and Alliance territories. As Director of Interspecies Relations, she oversaw the delicate diplomacy between humanity and the galactic community. "Quite a view, isn't it?" said Kevin Martinez, joining her at the window. As humanity's top scientist, he rarely left his research facility on Proxima Colony. "Hard to believe this station didn't exist 5 years ago," Andrea replied, watching ships from dozens of species dock at the sprawling complex. Below them, the Grand Hall prepared for the centennial celebration. Representatives from the Council and the Alliance would gather to commemorate a century of what many now called the Great Rebalancing. "The Council speaker has arrived," announced Andrea's assistant through her earpiece. "Time to make history again," she said to Kevin with a smile. The ceremony brought together species that had once been bitter rivals. The current Council speaker, Trellmox, stood alongside Alliance President Ben Foster at the central podium. "A century ago, our predecessors believed uniformity brought stability." Trellmox addressed the gathering. "We feared difference. We rejected change. In doing so, we nearly destroyed ourselves." President Foster nodded. "And humanity, in our determination to chart our own course, might have isolated ourselves forever in our anger. Instead, we found a better way forward." They jointly unveiled a monument in the center of the hall, a crystalline structure showing 2 spiral arms of the galaxy, intertwined but distinct. "Today we announced the formation of the Galactic Concordat," Andrea declared as she joined them at the podium. "Neither Council nor Alliance, but a new forum where all species, regardless of origin or governance, may contribute equally to our shared future." The celebration continued into the night as former enemies became partners. 3 recently discovered intelligent species, invited as honored guests, watched with wonder. Unlike earlier generations who faced ultimatums and control, these newcomers would enter the galactic community as equals from the beginning. Later, in a quiet moment, Andrea found herself speaking with an elderly council historian. "I've spent my life studying the Exodus era," the alien told her. "Do you know what fascinates me most? Not the technology, impressive as it was. It's how close we came to a different outcome." "What do you mean?" Andrea asked. "If the Council had accepted humanity's initial application, you would have been bound by our rules. Your innovation would have been controlled, your expansion limited. And if humanity had responded to rejection with war instead of departure, both our civilizations might have been destroyed." Andrea considered this. Sometimes the best path forward isn't joining or fighting, but creating something new entirely. As dawn broke over the station, Kevin showed Andrea his latest research in a private laboratory. A shimmering portal stood at the center of the room. "Is that what I think it is?" she asked, eyes wide. Kevin nodded. "The first stable wormhole generator. We can now connect any 2 points in the galaxy instantly, regardless of distance. Have you told the Council? That's why I wanted to speak with you. Under the old approach, we would have kept this technology for ourselves. Under the Concordat principles, we share it," Andrea finished. "With appropriate safeguards, of course." Kevin activated the portal, showing a view of a distant world no human or Council ship had ever reached. There's so much more galaxy to explore, so many more civilizations to meet. As delegates from 100 worlds celebrated below, Andrea watched the portal's shimmering light. The rejection that once seemed like humanity's greatest setback had become its greatest opportunity. By forcing humanity to leave, the Council had inadvertently created exactly what the galaxy needed: a counterbalance, an alternative, a new path forward. "To the next 100 years," Kevin said, raising his glass. Andrea smiled. "To finding our own way among the stars."